Earth was breaking, from the icy poles to the equatorial forests. The planet was groaning beneath the weight of centuries of neglect. Storms raged with unprecedented fury, swallowing coastlines and uprooting cities. Droughts turned fertile lands to dust. Wildfires swept across continents, painting skies with smoke so thick the sun was barely visible in the crowded streets of every major city. People moved with weariness etched into their faces. The news was relentless. Economies strained, governments faltered, and hope grew thin. There was no shortage of blame, but little solution. Amid the chaos, humanity's collective sorrow grew. It was a quiet, deep ache, an unspoken pain shared across millions of souls. Families mourning, lost homes and loved ones. Children growing up in a world of uncertainty. Scientists who had warned for decades watching their predictions come true. But no one knew that this pain reached far beyond the Earth itself. High above, past the orbit of Mars and out into the endless dark. An ancient presence stirred. The cosmic watchers had observed countless worlds, but Earth's suffering was different. It was raw and urgent, a silent cry that echoed through the void. On the surface, the skies darkened inexplicably. Strange auroras danced beyond the poles, shimmering with colors no human had ever seen. Instruments picked up faint pulses in the electromagnetic spectrum signals that seemed almost alive across the planet. People paused to look upward, sensing something vast and unknown. A subtle shift rippled through the atmosphere, as if the Earth itself was calling out Dot in a remote observatory in Chile. Dr. Amara Singh stared at the readings with growing disbelief. These signals, they're unlike anything natural, she whispered. It's as if the planet is alive and crying out for help. Her colleagues watched in stunned silence. The idea seemed impossible, but the data could not be ignored. Meanwhile, in the crowded halls of the United Nations, leaders gathered for emergency talks. The world was fracturing under pressure. Food shortages, mass migrations, civil unrest. The fragile alliances that once held nations together were unraveling. Yet, amid the chaos, an unexpected hope flickered. Astronomers around the world reported sudden appearances of colossal shapes moving through space, enormous, shimmering vessels that seemed organic rather than mechanical. The shapes pulsed with light, their forms shifting in mesmerizing patterns. The ships moved with purpose, their destination unmistakable. Earth panic and wonder swept the globe. Was this invasion? Rescue? Something beyond human understanding. News. Anchors struggled to explain, governments debated responses, and millions watched as the unknown approached. In a quiet room far from the turmoil, Dr. Singh stared at the images streaming from space telescopes. They're answering, she said, softly. Earth didn't cry alone. Back on Earth, people's lives continued in uneasy anticipation. Some looked to the sky with hope, others with fear. Religious leaders called for calm. Scientists urged caution. Mid the tension, stories spread of strange dreams, visions of beings made of light and flesh, bringing both wrath and salvation. Children asked their parents if the visitors were angels or demons. Adults struggled to prepare for a future no one could predict. In this moment of uncertainty, one truth was clear. Earth's pain had reached the heavens, and now the heavens were answering with flesh and fury. The stage was set for a new chapter in humanity's history, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The world held its breath as the colossal living ships descended through the atmosphere. Their forms defied human understanding, great undulating masses of flesh and light glowing with an otherworldly energy. Their surfaces pulsed rhythmically, like the beating of a vast heart. Shifting colors and hues no earthly eye had witnessed before. Cities stopped. Streets emptied. All eyes turned skyward, watching the impossible approach. News networks scrambled to broadcast every detail. Governments issued emergency statements, some calling for calm, others preparing defenses. The air was thick with anticipation and fear. Amara Singh stood among a group of scientists and military officials at the Global Command Center. The tension was palpable. "They're not like any spacecraft we've seen," she said quietly, her voice tinged with awe. "These beings, they're alive. They're organic." A general frowned. "Organic or not, we need to know their intentions. Are they here to help? To conquer? We can't afford to wait." As the largest of the vessels touched down in the Pacific Ocean, sheer size created massive waves that rippled toward distant shores. Yet, despite the chaos, no hostile action was taken. Instead, the ships opened. Massive petals of living flesh unfurled, revealing entrances glowing with soft light. From within, the Ilari emerged. Tall and regal, their forms shimmered between solid and translucent. Their skin shifted like liquid crystal, and their eyes glowed with fierce intelligence. They carried themselves with the grace of warriors and the power of ancient gods. They spoke not with words, but through a deep, resonant vibration felt in the bones of all who stood nearby. Yet, advanced translators quickly decoded their meaning. "We are the Ilari," their message declared. "We have heard Earth's cry. We come with flesh and fury to heal and to fight." The announcement sent shockwaves across the globe. The Ilari offered salvation, but their tone was stern. Their methods promised transformation, not gentle aid. Leaders convened urgently. Some saw the Ilari as the miracle humanity desperately needed. Others warned of surrendering sovereignty to an alien force they could neither control nor fully understand. In the streets, reactions were mixed. Hope and fear battled for dominance. For many, the Ilari were gods descended to answer a desperate prayer. For others, they were invaders cloaked in mystery. Amara worked closely with the Ilari, fascinated by their biotechnology. Their flesh was capable of healing itself and others at astonishing speeds. They could manipulate biology in ways humans had only dreamed of. Yet their gift came with conditions. The Ilari demanded humanity accept transformation, both physical and mental. They spoke of a necessary fusion between species to save Earth. This prospect unsettled many. The first volunteers stepped forward, willing to undergo the Ilari's treatments to save themselves, their families, and their dying planet. The results were remarkable. Wounds healed rapidly, bodies grew stronger, minds sharper. But with these changes came new challenges. Some found their thoughts altered, their emotions intensified. The Ilari's warrior nature infused human biology. With unfamiliar drives and instincts, news of these transformations stirred controversy. Activists decried the loss of humanity's essence. Governments debated the ethical implications. Scientists scrambled to understand the long-term effects. Meanwhile, the planet's condition continued to deteriorate. Without the Ilari's help, many feared Earth would not survive another year. Amara often stood beside Elise, an Ilari envoy who had taken a particular interest in humanity. Elise was both fierce and compassionate, a bridge between two very different worlds. "Do you think humans are ready for what we offer?" Amara asked one evening, watching the sun dip beneath a scarred horizon. Elise's eyes glowed softly. "They do not yet understand the cost, but survival demands change. The old ways are no longer enough." Amara nodded, her heart heavy. Change is frightening, but without it, there is only extinction. As night fell, the living ships pulsed with quiet energy, a promise and a warning. Earth's fate hung in the balance, poised between salvation and surrender. The heavens had answered Earth's cry. Now humanity had to decide whether to embrace the flesh and fury that came with it. The first weeks after the Ilari arrival were a whirlwind of emotion and upheaval, as the alien beings offered their biotechnology to heal the planet. Humanity was forced to confront questions far beyond survival questions of identity, trust, and transformation in the heart of the restored New York City. Now a testing ground for Ilari technology, volunteers lined up outside a luminous healing chamber. Inside, the Ilari's living flesh pulsed softly, ready to merge with human biology and begin the process of regeneration. Among the volunteers was Mara, a scientist who had lost her family to relentless storms. She stood quietly, her resolve stronger than her fear. When it was her turn, the chamber's light enveloped her, and she felt the strange warmth of alien flesh wrapping around her skin, weaving into her cells. Hours later, she emerged changed. Her wounds from an old injury vanished, her senses sharpened. But with the gifts came new feelings of fierce alertness, a burning resolve that pushed her forward with unexpected intensity. Across the world, others underwent similar transformations. Healing spread rapidly, and Earth's battered ecosystems began to respond. Forests grew greener, seas clearer. The planet breathed anew. Yet, not all changes were easy to accept. Mara found herself battling unfamiliar urgelessness, a warrior's impatience. The Ilari had infused not only their healing, but their spirit of fierce protection. It was a gift, yes, but also a burden. Debates raged in governments and communities. Was humanity sacrificing its soul for survival? Activists protested, fearing the loss of human essence. Religious leaders called for reflection, some embracing the Ilari as divine messengers, others condemning their methods. At the United Nations, heated sessions unfolded. Diplomats argued fiercely, torn between hope and caution. Amara Singh stood among them, her voice steady. We face extinction if we do nothing. The Ilari's offer is not just technology, it is a path forward. Change will come whether we choose it or not. We must decide how to shape it. Opposing her was Senator Varga, a vocal skeptic. At what cost, Doctor? To what end do we allow ourselves to be changed? Humanity is not just flesh and function, it is thought, emotion, culture. We risk losing ourselves. The room was divided. Meanwhile, tensions simmered on the streets. Some communities embraced the Ilari's gifts, transforming into stronger, faster, more resilient versions of themselves. Others resisted fiercely, fearing the unknown. Mara found herself torn between two worlds' humanities, past and its uncertain future. Her thoughts often drifted to Elise, the Ilari envoy whose presence had become both comforting and challenging. One evening, as they stood overlooking a revitalized river valley, Mara asked quietly, "Do you understand why so many fear you? Why?" They hesitate to accept this. Lisa's glowing eyes reflected the stars. We come from a warrior culture, shaped by survival through strength. We see change as life. But your species values choice and identity. That is your strength, and also your challenge. Mara nodded. Survival without soul is hollow. But destruction waits if we do nothing. Elise reached out, their hand warm against hers. Then we walk this path together. Flesh and fury, tempered by thought and heart. As Earth healed, so too did the bonds between human and Ilari deepen fragile. Complex, but growing stronger. Yet, beneath the surface, a darker threat loomed. Unbeknownst to most, the Ilari's presence had awakened ancient cosmic predators beings that fed on dying worlds. Their approach was swift and deadly, an extinction force that neither humans nor Ilari could face alone. Mara and Elise stood at the precipice of a choice that would define the future: unite fully or be destroyed in the coming days. Earth's people would learn what it truly meant to face flesh and fury. and to answer the call of survival with courage. The arrival of the ancient cosmic predator cast a long shadow over Earth, while humanity still grappled with accepting the Alari's gifts. A deeper, more immediate threat made unity no longer a choice, became a necessity in the sprawling halls of the Global Coalition's command center. Leaders and scientists from every nation gathered alongside the Illyri. The air hummed with tension, urgency pressing down like a physical weight. Amara Singh stood at the front, flanked by Eli's and representatives from the Illyri Council. Behind them, massive holograms displayed the Predator's Apracha Dark, shifting shape that consumed light and life in its path. "We cannot face this threat alone," Amara said. "The Illyri's technology is powerful, but we need more than that. We need trust, coordination, and a new way of working together." The coalition voted unanimously to formalize the alliance with the Illyria new pact binding flesh and spirit, human and alien. It was a bold step, one that would change the course of history. In the weeks that followed, transformation accelerated. Human volunteers underwent enhancements that increased their strength, resilience, and mental acuity. The process was demanding, sometimes painful, but the results were undeniable. Cities became hubs of advanced biotechnology, blending human architecture with living structures grown from Illyri biostructures. Gardens flourished where deserts had once claimed land. The air itself felt cleaner, alive with renewed energy yet. With transformation came challenges. Social divisions deepened between those enhanced and those who resisted. Some feared the loss of human culture, traditions, and freedoms. Protests erupted in some cities, while others embraced the new era with fervor. Mara found herself at the center of this change, her work bridging science and diplomacy. She met often with community leaders, listening to fears and hopes alike. One afternoon, she sat with an elder named Kato, a historian from Tokyo. "Change is necessary," Kato said, "but so is remembering who we are. How do we keep our humanity? When we are no longer entirely human," Ara considered his words. "Perhaps our humanity is not tied to our biology, but to our choices, how we face the future and care for one another." Kato smiled faintly. "That is the hope we must hold on to." Meanwhile, the Illyri trained human fighters, blending their warrior culture with human creativity and resilience. Battles were not yet fought, but preparation was fierce. The Predator was closing fast. Elis watched the human warriors with respect. "They adapt quickly. Their spirit is fierce," Amara agreed. "Their unpredictability is an advantage. They fight with heart as much as strength." Together, humans and Illyri forged new strategies, combining advanced biotechnology with human ingenuity. They built living weapons, shields grown from organic materials, and communication networks intertwined with planetary life. The new pact was more than an alliance. It was a fusion of species and ideals. Each side learned from the other, growing stronger and wiser. Yet, shadows lingered. A faction within humanity, fearful of losing independence, plotted resistance. They believed the Illyri's influence was a slow erasure of human freedom. Secret sabotage efforts threatened to undermine the fragile alliance. Mara confronted these fears openly. In speeches broadcast worldwide, she urged understanding. "We are not losing ourselves," she said. "We are evolving. The future demands that we unite not just to survive, but to thrive." Her words resonated with many, but the path ahead remained uncertain as the Predator's dark silhouette appeared on the horizon. Humanity faced its greatest test. Earth was no longer the same world it had been months before. It was a world reborn through pain, hope, and fierce determination. The pact held for now, together. Humans and Illyri stood ready to face the coming storm. The battle for Earth was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for identity, for legacy, and for the right to determine their own future. As Earth prepared for the impending battle, tensions beneath the surface grew sharper than ever. The alliance between humans and Ilari, though forged in necessity, was fragile. Not everyone embraced the union, and shadows of distrust began to spread through human society. In cities where biotechnology had transformed neighborhoods into vibrant, living communities, whispers of rebellion took root. The resistance, calling themselves the Earthborn, believed humanity was sacrificing its soul to alien influence. They feared the slow erasure of culture, freedom, and the essence that made humans unique, led by a former military officer named Calder Voss. The Earthborn operated in secret, sabotaging research facilities and broadcasting messages warning against the alien takeover. Their rallies attracted those skeptical or fearful of change: farmers, scholars, and even some scientists torn between hope and doubt. Calder stood on a makeshift stage in an underground shelter, his voice steady but passionate. "We didn't ask for this. We didn't invite the Ilari to rewrite what it means to be human. We fight for our future, for our right to decide who we are." His words resonated with many, but they also deepened divisions. Meanwhile, the Ilari grew concerned. Their warrior instincts sensed the growing unrest as a threat to Earth's survival. Eli's met with human leaders, emphasizing the need for unity. "We come with flesh to heal and fury to protect," Eli said. "But if your people turn against each other, all will be lost." Amara Singh found herself caught between both worlds. She understood the fears of the Earthborn, but also saw the urgency of embracing change. One evening, she met Calder in a neutral zone, hoping to find common ground. "Calder," she said carefully, "we face a threat that could destroy us all. The Ilori's help is real, their power undeniable. But I hear your fears. Tell me what you want for humanity." Calder's eyes burned with conviction. "We want choice. Respect for what humanity is, not what the Ilari want it to become. We want to heal Earth on our own terms," Amara nodded. "Perhaps we can find a way that honors both." The conversation was a start, but deep wounds and mistrust remained as the predator drew closer. The Earthborn's activities intensified. Sabotage slowed production of critical biotechnology. Communications were disrupted. The fragile alliance strained under the pressure. In response, Ilari warriors began training human defenders more aggressively, preparing for both external and internal conflict. The predator itself was no longer a distant threat. It arrived in the outer solar system, a massive, shifting entity that consumed light and matter. Its approach distorted space and time, leaving destruction in its wake. Scientists worked frantically to understand its nature. The predator was ancient, a cosmic force that consumed worlds too damaged or weak to defend themselves. Earth, though wounded, was fighting back with a new strength born of unity. In the quiet moments between preparation and battle, Mara reflected on the fragility of peace. She walked through a city transformed by Ilari technologists, streets alive with glowing plants, buildings that breathed and shifted with the seasons. Children played alongside bioengineered creatures, laughter mingling with the hum of life. But in the shadows, Mara knew the Earthborn's voice was growing louder. She wondered if humanity's greatest enemy was not the predator outside the solar system, but the divisions within their own hearts. One night, as she gazed at the stars, Mara felt the weight of the choice ahead to survive. Humanity needed to embrace change, but to live, it needed to hold on to what made it human. The coming battle would test not only their strength, but their unity and spirit. In the darkness, Earth did not weep alone. The heavens had answered, but their fury would only bring salvation if humanity stood together. The day the predator breached the orbit of Mars, Earth's atmosphere trembled as if sensing the arrival of doom. The alien entity, a shifting mass of darkness and light-consuming shadows, loomed closer with an eerie silence that chilled even the most hardened soldiers. Across the globe, people stopped and stared skyward, hearts pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. This was the moment their survival depended on the fragile alliance forged through blood, hope, and sacrifice. At the Global Command Center, Amara Singh stood beside Eli's and the leaders of the coalition. The room buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed the Predator's advance and the deployment of Earth's defenders. "We have one chance," Amara said, voice steady. "The Predator feeds on death and despair. Our unity, our hope, is our greatest weapon." Eli's nodded. "We fight not as separate species, but as one. Flesh and fury united." On the front lines, human soldiers enhanced by Ilari biotechnology prepared for battle. Their bodies moved faster, stronger, their minds sharper. Beside them stood the Ilari warriors, majestic, fierce, and resolute. Among the defenders was Mara, now a bridge between worlds. She wore the living armor grown from Ilari flesh, shimmering softly under the harsh light. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and resolve, as the Predator unleashed tendrils of dark energy toward Earth's defenses. The battle erupted. The air crackled with energy as living weapons clashed with shadows. The Ilori's fury burned bright, their forms shifting fluidly as they fought with precision and grace. Human soldiers, infused with alien strength and spirit, held the line with relentless courage. Despite their differences, the alliance proved stronger than anyone expected. Where the Predator sought to sow chaos and destruction, humanity and Ilari responded with innovation and unity. Mara found herself locked in a fierce confrontation with a monstrous shadow creature, an extension of the Predator. It towered over her, tendrils lashing wildly. Drawing on her enhancements, Mara moved with fluid strength. She struck with a weapon grown from living flesh, a blade that hummed with energy. Each blow pulsed with life and power, cutting through shadow and despair as she fought. Mara felt the weight of humanity's hope within her, the lives she fought to protect, the future she refused to surrender. Meanwhile, the battle raged across Earth's orbit and surface. Cities below watched the skies light up with the fury of war. Flashes of living light against the Predator's dark tend. In a command shuttle, Amara coordinated efforts, directing reinforcements and healing energy toward the front lines. Beside her, Elise monitored the battlefield, eyes glowing with fierce determination. "We must sever its core," Elise said. "Destroy the heart or Earth will fall." Amara agreed. "Then we make our final stand." In the heart of the Predators, Mas Mara led a small team of elite warriors. Their mission was clear but dangerous: to infiltrate and destroy the creature's source of power. The journey was harrowing. Tendrils lashed, dark energy pulsated unpredictably, and time seemed to warp in the Predator's presence. Yet, with each step, the bond between human and Ilari strengthened. Their shared strength was more than physical, it was a fusion of hope, determination, and survival. Reaching the core, Mara planted an energy charge grown from Ilari biostructure. The explosion rocked the creature, causing it to writhe and scream in cosmic fury. As the Predator began to collapse, its hold on Earth weakened. The skies cleared, and a new dawn broke over a healing planet. On the ground, cheers erupted. The Alliance had held. Mara looked to the horizon, knowing the fight was not over. Earth was scarred, its future uncertain. But humanity had proven it, could rise stronger, fiercer. And united, the heavens had answered Earth's silent cry with flesh and fury, and together they had faced the darkness. The Predator's collapse sent ripples through space and time, its dark mass dissolving into cosmic dust. Earth's defenders, weary but victorious, stood amidst the quiet aftermath of battle. The heavens had roared, and Earth had answered with a fierce, unwavering heart. But victory came at a cost. Across the planet, cities lay in ruins, ecosystems still fragile despite early signs of healing. The alliance between humans and Ilari had saved Earth. But the future remained uncertain, delicate balance between survival and transformation. Amara. Singh surveyed the aftermath from the Global Command Center, her gaze steady, yet thoughtful. The living structures around her pulsed softly, symbols of renewal amid the scars. "We won," she said quietly, "but now we must rebuild together." The new pact between humanity and the Ilari deepened. Governments officially recognized. The alliance integrating Ilari biotechnology into every aspect of life. Cities grew greener, oceans cleaner, and the planet began to pulse with renewed vitality. Still, not all wounds were healed. The Earthborn resistance, once a disruptive force, began to dissolve as many members saw the tangible benefits of unity. Calder Voss, their leader, met with Amara in a rare gesture of peace. "We fought because we feared losing ourselves," Calder admitted. "But perhaps we feared too much. Change is inevitable. The question is, can we guide it?" Amara nodded. "We can, and we must." Their conversation marked a turning point. Fear, slowly giving way to hope. Among those changed by the alliance was Mara. Her transformation was now complete. A fusion of human resilience and Ilari strength. She walked through the revitalized streets of New Gaia, the city rebuilt from the ruins of old New York. Children played alongside living gardens, and the air hummed with life. Mara smiled, feeling the pulse of the city, a living testament to survival and renewal. Yet her heart carried a quiet burden. The battle had revealed the fragile line between strength and fury, hope and despair. She often found herself standing beside Elise, who had become both a friend and mentor. "We saved Earth," Mara said one evening, watching the twin moons rise. "But what now? How do we ensure the fury doesn't consume us?" Elise's glowing eyes reflected the stars. "By remembering that fury is a tool, not a master. We must wield it with wisdom and compassion." Mara nodded, understanding that their journey had only just begun. As months passed, the fusion of human and Ilari cultures blossomed. New arts, sciences, and philosophies emerged, blending empathy with strength, tradition with innovation. Scientists developed ways to harmonize the alien biotechnology with human biology, ensuring that the gifts were balanced and controlled. Education embraced both histories and futures, teaching unity without erasing identity. The world watched as Earth transformed, not just healed, but reborn. Yet, amid the renewal, quiet warnings emerged from deep space. Scouts sent by the Ilari detected distant movements. Other ancient entities stirred by the echoes of the Predator's fall. These were forces neither Earth nor the Ilari had faced before, vast, unknowable, and potentially more dangerous. At a newly established council chamber orbiting Earth, leaders and Ilari convened. "We have won this battle," Elise declared, "but the cosmos holds greater trials." Amara replied, her voice resolute. "Then we stand ready. Together, stronger than ever." Back on Earth, as life flourished and hope blossomed, humanity embraced a new truth. They were no longer alone in their struggles. When Earth had wept, the heavens had answered, not with distant gods, but with flesh and fury. A fierce gift that demanded courage, unity, and heart. Together, they would face whatever the universe held. The story was far from over. The stars above Earth shimmered with a quiet brilliance, as if watching a world reborn. The scars of battle were still visible reminders of the cost. Paid for survival, but they no longer defined the planet's spirit. Mara stood on a hill overlooking New Gaia, the city alive with the gentle hum of living structures and vibrant life. Children played beneath trees that breathed with the pulse of Ilari biotechnology, while the twin moons cast soft light over a horizon filled with promise. Beside her, Elise's presence was calm, steady, the embodiment of the alliance that had reshaped their destinies. "We have come far," Mara said, voice filled with awe and quiet pride. "From fear and doubt to this moment," Eli's nodded. "Yet, the journey continues. The universe is vast and challenges remain, but we face them as one." Earth's transformation was not only physical, but spiritual. Humanity had learned to balance its fierce resilience with newfound wisdom. The gifts of the Ilari were no longer seen as foreign or frightening, but as threads woven into the tapestry of human life. Education blossomed with stories of both human and Ilari history, forging a shared narrative that honored both past and future. Art, music, and philosophy reflected the fusion, fierce yet compassionate, wild yet thoughtful. Mara often visited the great libraries, now living repositories grown from bioluminescent flora. There, she taught others about the power of unity and the strength found in change. Yet, peace was not complacency. Scouts from the Ilari reported distant disturbances in the galaxy, echoes of the Predator's fall awakening ancient forces. The cosmos was vast and unpredictable, filled with wonders and dangers yet unseen. Earth's leaders convened regularly, preparing for what might come, but never forgetting the lessons learned from the last great trial. Amara Singh, now a revered figure in the New World Order, spoke often about vigilance tempered with hope. "We face the unknown," she told a gathering of young leaders, "but we do so with the strength of many hearts united. We are no longer Earth alone. We are a new force, resilient, fierce, and wise." Back on Earth, Mara and Eli's led expeditions into the revitalized wilds. They marveled at forests that breathed life into the air, rivers sparkling with clarity once lost. Mara reflected on the journey from a world on the brink of extinction to one reborn through flesh and fury. She thought of the Earthborn, once so fearful, now partners in a shared future. She remembered the sacrifices, the doubts, and the fierce determination that had carried them through. And she knew the story would continue, not just of survival, but of thriving. One evening, as twilight bathed the land, Mara and Eli stood beneath the stars, hands intertwined. "We answered Earth's cry," Mara whispered. "But it was humanity's heart that gave life to the heavens' fury." Eli smiled, their glowing eyes reflecting the constellations. "Together, we will face whatever comes. We are stronger for it." And so, Earth entered a new dawn, a world forever changed, where flesh and fury met hope and heart. The heavens had answered the silent tears of a planet, not with judgment, but with fierce life and boundless possibility. A future born from unity, courage, and the unyielding spirit of Karade. And the unyielding spirit of Humanity. The end was only the beginning.